My oldest friend, Sarah, wanted to get closer to Michael, the boy she liked. To do that, she took my debate materials and passed them along to him. Because of her actions, I suffered a terrible loss in the debate competition and missed out on my chance for the overseas study program I'd worked so hard for. After the incident, she made excuses to everyone, claiming that I just needed to be put in my place and taught not to reach for things that were out of my league. I started pulling away from her, letting our friendship fade slowly. The applications I sent to colleges were the opposite of the joint plans we had made years ago. Yet the day I received my acceptance letter, Sarah rushed up to me with teary eyes and demanded an explanation. I just looked at her and said coldly, "You only need to be taught a lesson about knowing your place once," and I learned mine. Even though I had prepared thoroughly for the debate, my opponent absolutely crushed me. It was as if he knew every single argument and strategy I had ready. He targeted all my weak points with extreme accuracy. Even worse, he used private, sensitive details about my family life against me, leaving me feeling completely exposed and humiliated. My dream of using this tournament to secure a spot in the study abroad program was instantly destroyed. The heavy feeling of defeat and the public shame of being judged by everyone hit me all at once. I felt like I couldn't breathe. As I always did when things got tough, I found a quiet corner and texted my friend, Sarah, to tell her how awful I felt. "Sarah, I got destroyed. They totally wiped the floor with me. I feel terrible." She replied right away, "Hey, don't worry about it. It was just one competition. Come back, and I'll treat you to the biggest dinner you've ever seen." I quickly texted back, "I want the most expensive thing on the menu." "No problem. Whatever you want, Michael. Order the whole menu if you feel like it. It's on me," she said. Her comforting words actually helped calm the anxiety churning in my stomach. I said goodbye to my teammates, grabbed my backpack, and couldn't wait to leave. All I could think about was how I was going to force Sarah to spend a fortune on me that night. I didn't text her that I was on my way home, wanting to surprise her, but as I turned the corner near her house, I saw her locked in the embrace of someone I never would have expected. It was my debate opponent, the popular boy, Richard. He had only transferred to our school this semester. He was also the one competing with me for the same study abroad placement. Sarah had a rare, shy look on her face as she spoke. "Richard, I did so much work to make sure you won. I even managed to steal Michael's debate notes for you and told you his secret, that he's the illegal son of a driver. So what are you going to do to repay me for all this?" Richard gently messed up her hair, leaned down and gave her a brief, light kiss. "All right, I know you're the best. It's a good thing you told me all that when you did. It's the only reason we won so easily." He pulled Sarah into a tight hug and murmured, "Of course not," before leaning in again. They shared a long, passionate kiss, completely lost in each other. Seeing that, combined with Sarah's words, made my blood run cold. I never would have imagined that the worst attack in the debate had actually come directly from Sarah herself. Just the other day, Sarah had suddenly insisted on checking how my debate preparation was going. I thought she was just being kind and helpful, and was touched by her concern. I even sent her all my materials so she could help me check if my arguments were strong. And she had just turned around and given my notes to Richard. She even told him the deeply personal secret I had kept safe my whole life. The pain of having my personal life exposed and judged in front of everyone during the debate came rushing back. My hands were clenched so tight that my fingernails dug painfully into my palms. It took every bit of self-control I had not to charge over there right then. Instead, I took out my phone and quickly sent Sarah a text. "Sarah, where are you? I need to see you." The sound of the notification made them quickly pull apart. Richard looked at the message on her screen and gave a knowing laugh. "So, Michael lost and came running to you for comfort. What are you going to do? The whole school knows he's your most loyal fan. You can't tell me you don't know he has feelings for you." I watched as Sarah quickly typed a reply, then held up her phone to Richard as if showing him a prize. "Happy now, Richard? Can you finally be my real boyfriend?" The screen of her phone lit up. Sarah's reply was short and sharp. "With my boyfriend. Do not disturb." Richard was beaming, clearly pleased. He teased her. "Aren't you being a little harsh on Michael? Aren't you worried he'll cause trouble when he finds out the truth?" Sarah let out a dismissive sigh. "Michael is just a driver's son. His dad still works for my family to earn a living. As for the rumors about us at school, I was just too lazy to set the record straight before. But now I have to be loyal to you. This time, it was just to teach him a lesson so he'll learn not to want things that don't belong to him." Richard casually followed up. "So if I have any future problems with him, you won't defend him?" A smirk appeared on Sarah's face. "Of course not." I can't even describe how I felt on the walk home. As soon as I walked in the door, my dad came up to me, his face filled with worry. "Michael, you're home. Why do you look so pale? Are you feeling sick? Or are you hungry? Just wait, dinner's still warm. I'll get it for you. Mrs. Peterson gave me a cooked chicken today. Said it was from some fancy chef. You should try it." Watching my dad move around, seeing the gray hair at his temples, I wanted to say something but couldn't. To keep him from worrying, I didn't tell him what had happened. Sarah was right about one thing. My family really did depend on hers to get by. My biological mother left my father for another man before I was even born. My relatives said that my dad's health wasn't great to begin with, and since he was getting older, I would probably be his only child. Against my grandparents' strong objections, my dad insisted on raising me by himself. From the day I was born until I was old enough to understand, I was surrounded by hurtful names like illegitimate child and the unwanted bastard. To get me away from the endless gossip, my dad moved us to the city. He didn't have much formal schooling, but a kind person helped him get a job as a driver for the Peterson family. My dad was quick, hard-working, and kept everything private. Mrs. Peterson was very happy with his work, and he has been their driver for 10 years now. After hearing about our situation, the Petersons were also very kind to me. Sarah and I grew up together, and she treated me like any other friend. When it was time for middle school, Mrs. Peterson arranged for me to attend the same school as her. One time, my dad came to a parent-teacher meeting. When my classmates found out my dad was a driver, they started making fun of me and bullying me. One day after school, a few of them tricked me into going into a storage closet. They pushed me in and locked the door. My grandparents used to lock me in a dark room when I was a kid, so I suffer from severe claustrophobia. I was stuck in that closet until midnight. I was cold, hungry, and so weak I could barely move. It was completely dark and terribly silent. Just when I thought I was losing all hope, Sarah kicked the door open, standing against the light. That night, she led me out of the darkness. The next day, she stood in front of the whole class and announced, "Michael is my best friend. If you bully him, you're picking a fight with me, Sarah Peterson." The Peterson family was very influential in the city. Many of the other kids' families did business with them. They didn't dare cross Sarah, and after that day, they left me alone. To this day, I still remember her gentle words of comfort that night. Michael, if anyone bullies you from now on, just tell me. I'll beat them up for you. We're going to go to the same college and always be together. As long as I'm here, no one will ever be able to bully you again. Her words were like a savior's promise, a beautiful sound. Under the moonlight, my childhood crush grew wildly. From then on, to try and close the gap between me and Sarah, I worked tirelessly to improve my grades and skills at school. The strange thing is, all my hard work vanished the moment Richard showed up. With his good looks, Richard won the hearts of countless girls as soon as he arrived. I never thought Sarah would fall for him too. And to make him happy, she was willing to sacrifice me. The person who once promised to always protect me had now become the one who hurt me the most. I didn't sleep at all that night. My eyes were open until the sun came up. Sarah and Richard's conversation kept playing over and over in my mind. Their open contempt and disgust were like a knife stabbing straight into my heart. The pain was so sharp it woke me up completely. It was time for me to get out of Sarah's world. The next day, I didn't wait for Sarah and took the bus to school by myself. I ran into her at the school gate just as she was getting out of her car. When she saw me, she ran over and greeted me like nothing had happened. "Michael, why didn't you wait for me today? Why didn't you take our car?" If I hadn't heard her conversation with Richard and gotten that text yesterday, her casual acting would have made me feel guilty, just like it always did. I forced a small smile. "Sarah, you have a boyfriend now, don't you? We should probably keep our distance. I wouldn't want him to get the wrong idea." Hearing the word boyfriend, Sarah seemed to understand. She clapped me on the shoulder enthusiastically, shrugged, and smiled. "Oh, you mean Richard? Yeah, we're together. But there's a reason for it. I'll explain everything later. Anyway, don't worry. Even if I have a boyfriend, you're still my most important friend. Don't think too much about it." I didn't respond, and just kept walking. But Sarah clearly wasn't used to my silence. She tilted her head in confusion and grabbed my arm. "Michael, are you mad because you lost the competition yesterday and I didn't comfort you right away?" I frowned and was about to pull my arm away when a strong force shoved me aside. Richard wrapped his arm tightly around Sarah's shoulder, looking at me with a possessive glare. "Michael, Sarah is my girlfriend. What does it look like? You getting all touchy with her at school?" I gave him a puzzled look. "Richard, I didn't realize you were blind. Did you not see Sarah grabbing me just now? Do me a favor and stay away from me from now on, both of you. I don't have time for your little high school drama." With that, I turned and walked away. Sarah took a couple of steps forward, looking like she wanted to say something else, but Richard held her back. Losing the study abroad opportunity meant I was missing a huge advantage on my college applications. With my current grades, I would need to raise my score by at least 30 points to have a shot at my dream school. Right now, all I could think about was where I was going to find those 30 points. I truly didn't have the time or energy to deal with them. But Richard and Sarah didn't get the message. In the past, Sarah and I were always together, and everyone assumed we'd end up as a couple. Thanks to some careful rumors started by Richard, the news that Sarah and I had broken up spread through the school. Many students thought I was just bitter because she didn't like me back. The way they looked at me was now full of gossip and judgment. Richard was already popular because of his looks, and he had a lot of fans. When they heard I might have a grudge against him because of Sarah, they started to isolate me. They looked for any chance to teach me a lesson and put me in my place. Glue on my chair, bugs in my drink container, my homework covered in scribbles, mean notes taped to my back, fake love letters written in my name to every girl in the class. Within a few days, I became a weirdo everyone looked down on. Sarah saw all of it, but she just pretended not to notice. Eventually, I moved my desk to a corner of the classroom, no longer sitting next to her. Only then did the daily pranks start to stop. After becoming a loner, my life became a simple routine of home and school, studying in silence. Other than asking teachers questions, I barely spoke to anyone at school. All the lonely hours I endured paid off in my academic scores. On the first monthly exam of senior year, I got my best scores ever. 3rd in my class, 7th in our grade. I became the example for the most improved student, the dark horse everyone was talking about. I thought if I just kept my head down, I could avoid trouble. But what happened next proved how naive I was. Saturday was Mrs. Peterson's birthday. Unlike previous years, the Petersons threw a huge party for her. They invited a lot of business partners and important people. My dad and the other staff were extremely busy, so I spent the day helping out in the kitchen. Sarah brought Richard with her. She formally introduced him to her parents' friends. Mrs. Peterson was especially fond of Richard. She held his hand affectionately and made polite conversation with him the whole time. Even Mr. Peterson, who was usually so serious, was all smiles with him. When Richard saw me moving quickly in a waiter's uniform, he looked at Mrs. Peterson with fake surprise. "Hey, isn't that Michael from our class? What's he doing here? No wonder everyone used to say Michael and Sarah were childhood friends and super close." I guess I'm finally seeing it for myself. Richard's words made Mrs. Peterson's face freeze. She shot me a look of annoyance and explained with a forced smile, "Oh, Michael, he's the son of our driver, Mr. Dawson. He's just helping out today since we're so busy. He and Sarah aren't exactly childhood sweethearts. Honestly, you and Sarah look so much better together." To make sure Richard didn't get the wrong idea, Mrs. Peterson turned to me with a cold expression. "Michael, you can just stay in the kitchen. There's no need to come out to the main hall. We wouldn't want you to bother the guests." Seeing Mrs. Peterson, who had always been so kind to me, change her attitude so drastically, I scoffed internally, nodded politely, and quietly slipped away. Sarah opened her mouth as if to explain something, but under her mother's warning look, she didn't say a word. Mrs. Peterson's coldness clearly made Richard feel more comfortable. To help them get closer, Mrs. Peterson told Sarah to take Richard up to her room to hang out. Just when I thought the day would pass without any more drama, something unexpected happened. Mrs. Peterson had someone call me to the main hall. When I saw the notebook Richard was holding, my stomach dropped. Richard's eyes were red as he spoke to the crowd, his voice sounding heartbroken. "Michael, I can't believe you're so sneaky. You knew Sarah had a boyfriend, yet you wrote this diary full of romantic confessions for her to see. You have no shame." His words were like a rock thrown into a calm lake, sending ripples through the crowd. Mrs. Peterson took the notebook, quickly flipped through a few pages, then handed it to Mr. Peterson. She was shaking with anger, clutching her chest, her finger trembling as she pointed at me. "Michael, I want you to ask yourself, has our family not been good enough to you and your father? How could you have such disgraceful thoughts? I am so disappointed in you." After looking through it, Mr. Peterson's face was also filled with disapproval. Everyone there was a person of status and social standing. The Petersons' clear position sealed my fate. I was the driver's son who had no shame, who dared to dream of moving up the social ladder by pursuing the master's daughter. I stood there helplessly in my waiter's uniform, under the watchful eyes of everyone. I was being judged from every angle. The notebook was my diary, where I'd written about my secret crush on Sarah. One time, while I was writing in it, Sarah caught me red-handed. She snatched the diary, and after reading it, she smiled with satisfaction. But she didn't give it back. Instead, she said, "Michael, once we get into the same college, we can be together. I'll hold on to your confession for now." And now Richard had brought that same diary out into the open. The secret I had tried so hard to hide was being exposed in front of everyone. Whispers and murmurs rose from all around. I felt as exposed and humiliated as if I'd been stripped naked and publicly shamed. My dad heard the noise and rushed over, standing in front of me to shield me. He kept bowing and apologizing nervously to Mir and Mrs. Peterson. "I'm so sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Peterson. Michael doesn't know any better. It's all my fault as his father. If you have a problem, take it out on me. Whatever punishment you want to give, I'll accept it." Seeing my dad so humiliated, my heart felt like it was being eaten by 1,000,000 tiny ants. Fighting back tears, I lowered my head and apologized alongside my father. "Sir, ma'am, it was all my fault. I'm so sorry for all the trouble I've caused you, seeing us groveling like that." A smile finally appeared on Richard's face. In front of everyone, Mrs. Peterson announced that they could not tolerate someone with impure intentions around their daughter. Sarah's future husband had to be someone like Richard, from a family of equal standing. Sarah, one of the main people involved, said nothing the entire time. My dad and I were kicked out of the Peterson house right then and there. When we got back to our rented apartment, I looked at my dad with red eyes and apologized. "Dad, it's all my fault. I made you lose your job." But my dad didn't blame me. He sighed and pulled me into a hug. "Silly boy, how could this be your fault? If anyone's to blame, it's me for not being able to give you a better life. I can tell you haven't been happy lately. You don't talk about Sarah all the time like you used to. Our families are from different worlds. With the way the Petersons acted, even if you did end up with Sarah, you would have suffered. It's better that we're out of there now. You won't have to force yourself to go to their house for my sake anymore." My dad's words were like a warm spring in winter, washing away all my guilt. After that, I focused even more on my studies, and my grades stabilized. Whenever I saw Sarah and Richard at school, I would deliberately walk the other way. Several times, Sarah tried to talk to me, but I always managed to avoid her. My dad also found a new way to make money. He started a small food cart. He's a great cook and knows how to make a lot of delicious dishes from our hometown. After getting his food and health permits, he set up his cart at the night market. It quickly attracted a lot of customers. Many people became regulars after just a few visits, constantly recommending our cart to their friends and family. Ms. Adams was one of them. I'd see her 3 or 4 times a week. She said she'd been away from her hometown for too long. Now that she'd finally found an authentic taste of home, she didn't want to miss it. The food cart got more and more popular, and my dad was often too busy to handle it alone. Whenever I had free time after school, I would go and help him. One day after school, I was working at the cart, as usual, when I looked up and saw Richard with his arm around Sarah walking into the night market. Behind them was Richard's group of friends. When they got to our cart, Richard shot me a smug grin. He sat down with Sarah and his friends and yelled at me, "Hey you, get us 10 of your signature dishes, and make it quick, we're waiting." No matter what issues I had with them, when you're running a business, you greet customers with a smile. I put on a smile and asked politely, "Do any of you have any dietary restrictions? Cilantro, onions, garlic? How spicy would you like it?" Richard just waved his hand dismissively. "Just make it the way you normally do. We're just here to see if your food is any good." So after this food arrived, Richard poked at it with his chopsticks, took one bite of a flatbread, and then spit it out on the ground. He was clearly looking for a fight. "Hey, owner, what is this garbage you're serving? I can tell just from one bite that these ingredients aren't fresh. Are you going to take responsibility if we get sick from this?" A lot of the customers at the cart today were new. Hearing Richard, many of them put down the food they were about to order. A crowd started to gather. Food safety is a huge deal for everyone. If this wasn't handled well, word could spread, and we might not be able to keep our cart open. I knew Richard was just trying to cause trouble. I looked at him calmly. All of our ingredients are bought fresh every day. We never use leftovers from the day before. If you think it's not fresh, then please show us a doctor's note proving you got sick from our food. Richard laughed like he'd just heard the world's greatest joke. So the fact that it tastes bad isn't evidence enough. I have to eat the whole thing and end up in the hospital for you to believe me? Is this how you do business? You only admit there's a problem after a customer gets sick? He was relentless. I clenched my hands and asked in a low voice, "Then what do you want me to do? To prove our food is fine?" Richard paused, then pointed at the piece of flatbread on the ground. "If you dare to pick that up and eat it, I'll believe there's nothing wrong with your food." His words caused a wave of murmurs through the crowd. A few people even took out their phones to record the drama. "Making him eat something off the ground? Isn't that a bit much? Maybe they have some history, and he's just here to start trouble." The kid and the owner seem nice enough. Do you think he'll actually pick it up and eat it? Probably not. It's on the ground. That's disgusting. Yeah, kids these days are so picky. No way. My dad didn't want to make a big scene. He bowed to Richard and his friends and pleaded in a low voice, "Sarah, how about this? I'll cover your meal today. It's on me, okay? It's fallen on the ground, and there are a lot of germs. Please don't make Michael eat it." Sarah hesitated for a moment, then looked at Richard. "Richard, Michael and his dad are just trying to make a living. Maybe we should just let it go." Richard crossed his arms and lifted his chin defiantly. "Why should I let it go? No way, Sarah. Don't tell me you've still got a soft spot for him." Sarah quickly shook her head and said soothingly, "Of course not. I just don't want some nobody to ruin your good mood." Richard's friends started to mock me. "Hey, are you gonna eat it or not? Or is there actually something wrong with your food and you're just scared? Yeah, if you won't even eat your own food, why should anyone else? Are you eating it or not? If not, we're out of here, and we'll be sure to spread the word online for you." Richard stared at me with a challenging look. Sarah just stood by, her face blank. Rage swelled up inside me. Fighting back tears, I yelled, "Fine! I'll eat it! I'll eat it right now!" I bent down, picked up the flatbread, and rinsed the dirt off with some water. Just as I was about to put it in my mouth, a firm, elderly voice called out from behind me, "Michael, wait!" I turned to see Ms. Adams and a few of her friends. Ms. Adams knocked the flatbread out of my hand. She gently wiped the tears from the corner of my eye. Then she tapped her cane on the ground and looked sternly at Richard and Sarah's group. "Young man, you don't look very old. How can you be so merciless? My friends and I eat at Michael's cart almost every day. There is nothing wrong with their food. We can all vouch for that. If you don't believe us, you can ask the other vendors around here. They'll tell you it's the truth." Ms. Adams was a regular at the night market. Every vendor knew her. Seeing this, other vendors also came forward to speak up for us. As the commotion grew, people started to talk about Richard. He started to look uncomfortable and retorted, "How do I know you're not all in on it together? Maybe they're paying you to say this." I looked at him coldly, my voice completely flat. "Then why don't we call the police and check the security cameras to see who's really causing trouble?" I took out my phone to call the police, but he slapped it out of my hand and onto the ground. Richard's eyes darted around nervously. Don't call the police." At that point, it was pretty clear to everyone who was in the right and who was in the wrong. He grabbed Sarah and tried to leave, but Ms. Adams blocked their path with her cane. She said patiently, "Young man, since you won't call the police, it means you're admitting to falsely accusing this vendor. You can't just leave. You have to apologize to Michael and his father and clear their names before you go." Richard was already on edge. Ms. Adams's words were the last straw. He shoved her with his hand, yelling, "Get out of my way, you old woman!" and ran off. Ms. Adams fell to the ground, cane and all. I rushed over to check on her, while my dad called the emergency services. We left the cart and went with the ambulance to the hospital. Thankfully, Ms. Adams only had a minor fracture in her leg and some scrapes, no other serious injuries. Ms. Adams and her daughter both insisted it wasn't my fault and that they didn't blame me. But thinking about my dad begging them and Ms. Adams getting hurt because of me made my blood boil. By the time we got back from the hospital, closed up the cart, and went home, it was the middle of the night. When we got to our apartment building, an unexpected visitor was waiting for us. When Sarah saw me, she shifted her weight nervously. It looked like she'd been waiting there all night. She rushed forward to block my path, her voice urgent. "Michael, you have to listen to me. You really made Richard angry today. He's holding a grudge against you now. Tomorrow at school you need to apologize to him first thing. Whatever he says, don't argue with him. Otherwise, even I won't be able to protect you. This is serious. Do you understand?" I stared at her. "Sarah, I thought you were just blinded by Richard. I didn't realize you'd become his puppy. This isn't the past. No matter how powerful Richard is, he's not above the law. Besides, since when have you ever protected me since he showed up?" I was already exhausted from dealing with them earlier. I didn't have the energy to argue with her. I just walked around her and hurried on. From behind me, I heard Sarah's desperate shout. "Richard said he's going to make you pay tomorrow at school. His family has connections, Michael. Don't mess with him. Don't fight a battle you can't win." The old apartment complex was quiet at night, and Sarah's voice was piercing. Knowing Richard's personality, I was sure he wouldn't let this go. Did having a powerful family mean you could bully people however you wanted? First, he used dirty tricks to steal my study abroad spot, and then he caused a scene at our food cart. Was he going to try to get me expelled now? Who did he think he was? Remembering the conversation I'd overheard between Ms. Adams and her daughter outside the hospital room, an idea began to form in my mind. The next day, as soon as I walked onto campus, I heard students talking. The story about Richard causing a scene at the night market and pushing an old woman had been reported to the school. Several people who were there that night had called the dean's office to complain. Under public pressure, the school administration issued a public warning to Richard and his friends overnight. The disciplinary notice was posted on the school's bulletin board and online forum. But for Richard, a punishment like that was nothing more than a gentle tap on the wrist. Just as I expected, I had barely sat down in my classroom when Richard and his group swaggered over to me, full of threats. "Michael, I have to admit, you've got some moves, getting the school to give me a warning. But since you don't know when to quit, don't blame me for what happens next. Don't even think about running off after school today. You and I are going to settle this." Behind him, Sarah kept trying to catch my eye, signaling for me to apologize to Richard. But I didn't budge. I just smiled back at him calmly. "Sure, let's see who runs." When the final bell rang for lunch, I stayed in my seat. After the other students had left, Richard and his group, with Sarah following, stormed into the classroom. On his signal, 2 of them unplugged the security camera. With no cameras watching, Richard felt completely free. He had his friends hold me down while he started slapping me across the face, asking over and over, "Had enough, Michael? Still think you can mess with me?" After about a dozen slaps, my face was swollen and red. I could taste blood in my mouth, but I clenched my teeth and shouted back, "Never!" "Richard, why are you so obsessed with bullying me?" Richard poked me hard in the forehead with his finger and sneered. "What? Do I need a special reason to hit you when I feel like it? But since you asked, I might as well let you know why you're in so much pain." What Richard said next shocked me. I couldn't believe his intense hatred for me started over something so small. At the beginning of the year, during the online vote for School Heartthrob, someone commented on the school forum that I was better looking than Richard. That comment got a lot of likes and became the top reply. Richard saw it and was furious. On top of that, Sarah and I were still close back then. Sarah was one of the prettiest girls in school. From the moment Richard arrived, he was interested in her. But at first, Sarah wasn't really responsive to his advances. Then, suddenly, things changed. It was like Sarah became a different person, suddenly willing to do anything Richard wanted. Richard was used to getting whatever he wanted. Even after he and Sarah got together, he still blamed me for his initial frustrations at the new school. He hated my guts. It seemed like the only way he could feel better was by making my life miserable. I couldn't understand his twisted, sick way of thinking. By now, my face was swollen like a balloon. Maybe I was imagining it, but I thought I saw a flicker of pity in Sarah's eyes. She held on to Richard's arm, stroking it gently, and said casually, "Richard, look at him. He's a pathetic mess. It's making me sick. Maybe you've taught him enough of a lesson for now. I'm afraid I'll lose my appetite for lunch." Richard wiped his hands on a napkin and threw it in my face. He said as if granting a huge favor, "Fine. Let's leave it at that for now. I'm hungry too. Let's go, guys. Lunch is on me. As for Michael, let's just throw him in the storage closet. Didn't you say he's claustrophobic? I've never seen someone have an attack like that. Today seems like a good day to learn something new." Sarah's face froze. She hesitated. "Richard, I don't think that's a good idea. What if something really bad happens? I'm afraid." Before she could finish, Richard cut her off. He looked annoyed. "What's there to be afraid of? What could happen? Don't tell me you're getting soft again. Don't forget it was you who came crawling back to me, begging me to be with you." Sarah immediately shook her head. She looked as shocked as if she'd heard something unbelievable. "How could I be soft? Don't get the wrong idea, Richard. I'm just worried that if something happens, it will reflect badly on you." Seeing that they were done talking, Richard's friends quickly dragged me to the storage closet by the stairs. After a brief struggle, the door was locked from the outside. No one came to let me out before classes started again in the afternoon. The storage closet had 4 solid walls and no windows. The only light bulb was broken and hadn't been fixed. Once the door was closed, it was a completely sealed, dark room. I endured nearly 2 hours of agonizing confinement. By now, I was drenched in a cold sweat, my face was pale, and I was slumped on the floor, too weak to move. I glanced at my phone screen. It was time. With the last of my strength, I made a call. "Hello, I'm in the storage closet in the main building. Please help me." I passed out before I could finish the sentence. When I opened my eyes, I was in a hospital room. My dad was there, wiping away tears. "Michael, you're finally awake. You scared me half to death. Are you feeling okay? Does anything hurt?" I managed a weak smile. "Dad, do you know who brought me to the hospital?" My dad kept wringing his hands, his eyes welling up with tears. "It was Ms. Adams's daughter. She's the one who brought you here. She called me, and that's when I found out what happened at school. Oh, my boy. Why didn't you tell me you were being bullied so badly at school? It's all my fault. I'm not successful enough, and that's why people treat you like this." I weakly lifted my hand to wipe his tears. "Dad, don't worry. I said softly. I promise, after today, no one will ever dare to bully me again. Just then, the hospital room door opened. Ms. Adams walked in, followed by the school principal and a few other administrators. She looked at me with concern. Michael, do you remember who hit you and locked you in the storage closet? Don't be afraid. Just tell me everything you know. I will make sure you get justice. I silently pulled my phone out of my pocket and played the recording of the incident for all of them to hear. After listening to the recording, Ms. Adams's brow furrowed and her expression turned serious. I pinched my thigh hard where no one could see and looked at her with teary eyes. Ms. Adams, this isn't the first time they've bullied me. Can you please help me? Everyone says Richard's family is powerful and that I can't win against them. But I'm so scared it will happen again. She turned to the principal and the others standing behind her. Is this what you call a safe and civilized school environment? To have students who are so brazenly out of control is unbelievable. Your failure to identify and address these problem students is a serious failure of your duties as administrators. I want the relevant departments to investigate this immediately. We cannot allow this kind of thuggery to tarnish our schools. The principal and the other leaders wiped sweat from their foreheads, trembling, and said in unison, Yes, we'll get on it right away. We'll launch a special investigation immediately. Seeing all this, I knew my gamble had paid off. That's right. I had deliberately provoked Richard into attacking me. The day before, outside Ms. Adams's hospital room, I overheard that her daughter, Ms. Williams, was the newly appointed head of our city's education system. Her top priority was to create harmonious school environments and reduce bullying incidents. When she found out that students from our school had caused her mother's injury, Ms. Williams had changed her schedule to conduct a surprise inspection of our school the next afternoon. I knew that a simple complaint wouldn't be taken seriously. I had to put myself in the middle of it. So I timed it perfectly for her inspection. I chose to confront Richard and his friends at lunchtime. Then, right when Ms. Williams was scheduled to arrive at the school, I called her for help. When she saw me battered and bruised with her own eyes, the school officials who were with her couldn't cover it up, even if they wanted to. As a student with no power, it was the most direct way I could think of to take down Richard and his group. And it worked. I was in the hospital for a week before I returned to school. Thanks to Ms. Williams's swift and decisive intervention, everything at school had changed. After a thorough investigation, Richard, as the ringleader of the bullying, was expelled. Because he was over 16, the charge of intentional assault was upheld. Richard was sent to a juvenile detention center for re-education. His family spent a fortune trying to get him out, but they failed. As the special task force dug deeper, they uncovered evidence of his family's involvement in organized crime and money laundering. Richard's powerful father and several of his uncles were all arrested. Within days, the family's influence in the city was completely wiped out. Sarah and the others were found to be accomplices, coerced and encouraged by Richard. They were given a major demerit with a warning that any future offense would result in expulsion. When the announcement was made, the school was buzzing. All the students who had been bullied by Richard and his gang were cheering. As soon as I got back to my classroom, Sarah found me. She looked worn out, with dark circles and bags under her eyes. She was a shadow of her former vibrant self. Michael, you're back. Can we talk for a minute? Sarah then gave me a long explanation for her behavior. She had once told her parents at the dinner table that she liked me. She even told them her plan for us to get together after we got into college. But both Mr. and Mrs. Peterson were against it. No matter how much Sarah pleaded, they wouldn't agree. The reason was that the Peterson family business was facing an unprecedented crisis. They had to find a way to survive. Otherwise, the family might never recover. Richard's family was a long-standing powerhouse in the city, with extensive connections and immense resources. They were the best lifeline Mrs. Peterson could find. After learning that Richard had just transferred to our school, Mrs. Peterson came up with the idea of having Sarah try to date him. She wanted to use their relationship to get an introduction to Richard's powerful father. Mrs. Peterson made Sarah a promise. If she could help the family overcome this crisis by pursuing Richard, they would no longer object to her being with me in the future. At first, Sarah refused and strongly opposed her mother's plan. She thought it was ridiculous. But day after day, she watched her parents run themselves ragged trying to save the family business. Her father would come home and pass out on the sofa, too tired to even eat dinner. Her mother, who had always been so elegant, was starting to get gray hair and wrinkles. Sarah's heart was moved. To make things easier for her parents, she started to show interest in Richard. Richard already had a thing for Sarah. The two of them started dating very quickly. Richard wasn't a deep thinker. After Sarah flattered him and whispered in his ear a few times, he immediately set up a meeting between her father and his. After several dinner meetings, the two families established a business alliance, sealed by the happiness of their children. With the help of Richard's family, the Petersons' business started to recover. Unfortunately, Richard had been spoiled his whole life and had a dominating personality. When Sarah tried to gently break up with him, he flat out refused. After realizing that I was probably the reason Sarah wanted to break up with him, Richard started to plot his revenge against me. The debate tournament was his first move. Richard used the Peterson family business as leverage, demanding that Sarah prove her loyalty to him during the tournament. With no other choice, Sarah made up an excuse to get my debate notes and gave them to Richard, along with the secret that I was born out of wedlock. Winning the debate made Richard trust Sarah even more. He became even more possessive of her. Whenever he sensed that Sarah was pulling away, he would find a way to punish me to force her back in line. A few times when Sarah was angry during an argument with Richard, she told him that he had a worse temper than I did. This reminded Richard of how I had outshone him when he first arrived, and his frustration boiled over. Without a second thought, Richard gathered his friends and forced Sarah to watch as they taught me a lesson. To prevent Richard from coming after me again, Sarah had to play along. She stopped mentioning my name and said all sorts of things she didn't mean. She stood by and watched as Richard's friends played pranks on me. She made a big show of cutting ties with me for Richard's benefit. But she never expected Richard to find my diary at her mother's birthday party. When Richard made a scene, she didn't dare to stop him. She knew that the more she showed she cared about me, the more viciously Richard would retaliate. So she forced herself to stay away from me, hoping to shield me from his insane rage. The incident at the night market was actually an accident. Sarah had wanted to persuade me to just suck up to Richard. She thought that if I could just make him happy, he would stop tormenting me. She had no idea that Ms. Adams was connected to the new head of the education system. Ms. Williams called the school administration that night and pressured them to deal with the students who had caused the trouble. As the son of the all-powerful Richard family, it was the first time he had been publicly humiliated at school. His retaliation was as arrogant and brutal as his personality. Sarah knew she couldn't stop Richard from attacking me. She had planned to sneak away and unlock the storage closet when Richard and his friends weren't looking. But Ms. Williams got there first. Listening to Sarah's story, I felt a mix of emotions. She looked at me with pleading eyes. "Michael, the Richard family is gone, and Richard is in the juvenile center. No one will ever hurt you again. My parents don't object to us being together anymore. Can we get back together, please? The college entrance exams are coming up soon. As long as we get into the same university, no one can stop us from being together." Looking at her for a fleeting moment, I saw the girl who had rescued me from the darkness all those years ago. But some things, once they change, can never go back. I didn't give her a clear answer, only one sentence. "Let's see if you can get in first." Those words seemed to give her a strange sense of hope. Sarah threw herself into her studies. On the last 2 practice exams, her scores were nearly identical to mine. After the final exams, I graduated first in our school and third in the entire city. I listed a university in Boston as my first choice. The day I got my acceptance letter, Sarah ran to my apartment building. She excitedly waved her own acceptance letter at me. "Michael, I got in. You got your letter too, right? I'm so happy. We can finally go to college together." I just looked at her calmly, saying nothing. Sarah was completely bewildered. She took my acceptance letter from my hand and glanced at it. Her eyes instantly turned red. "Michael, didn't we promise when we were kids that we would never be apart? You told me to study hard, that you'd give me a chance if I got in. How could you go back on your word?" I snatched my letter back from her, my gaze cold and emotionless. "Don't flatter yourself, Sarah. I only said that to get you to focus on your exams. The last thing I wanted was for you to one day blame me for failing because I distracted you. The moment you used me as a stepping stone to suck up to Richard during the debate tournament, any chance between us was gone. Don't tell me everything you did was for my own good. At best, it was a calculated move to save your family's business. If you truly cared about me, you wouldn't have let Richard hurt me over and over again. And you never would have told him my most shameful secret. Even without Richard, the next time your family faced a crisis, you would have thrown me away like a sacrifice all over again. I've learned my lesson about not knowing my place. Once was enough. Don't bother me again." Sarah was stunned into silence, just standing there frozen. I chose to study law because I wanted to explore the true meaning of fairness and justice. I wanted to arm myself with better weapons and more effective methods to solve problems, so that in the future there would be fewer naive kids like me who don't know how to fight back. Before I left for college, Ms. Adams and Ms. Williams came to see me off. Ms. Williams patted my shoulder earnestly. "Michael, the road is long and difficult, but if you keep walking, you will reach your destination. I believe in you. Keep going." 4 years later, I returned home, and as I had hoped, became a prosecutor for the city. Every day, I walk in the light of sunshine and justice. I heard news of Sarah again at a high school reunion. Not long after graduation, the Peterson family's business collapsed. It turned out that all the help from Richard's family had been a setup. It looked good at first, but it was really a bottomless pit. To cover the financial holes, Mrs. Peterson tried the same trick again. She had Sarah start dating the son of another wealthy family in the city. Sarah used the same tactics on him that she had used on Richard. She quickly got together with the rich kid. To prove her loyalty to him, Sarah signed a series of prenuptial agreements. The agreement stated that if Sarah was unfaithful or initiated a divorce, all assets in her name would go to him. Looking at the list of wedding gifts, Sarah really thought she had hit the jackpot. But less than 2 weeks after the wedding, the promised investment from his family never came. The wedding gifts were never transferred to the Peterson family as promised. Only then did the Petersons realize they had been expertly played. The whole elaborate wedding was just a scheme to take over their company. The shock caused both Mr. and Mrs. Peterson to have strokes, and they were hospitalized. As for Sarah, she was trapped. If she divorced, she would lose everything. If she didn't, she would have to watch her family's company be picked apart. With nowhere to turn, Sarah started drinking heavily, giving up on herself completely. She came home drunk every night. The new husband had also done his homework on Sarah's past and knew everything. He couldn't stand her self-destructive behavior. He would constantly tell her that she deserved it. He said her current situation was karma for sucking up to Richard and betraying me. His words were a constant torment to her. One night, she couldn't take it anymore and drove to the coast to clear her head. But she was still drunk and in a daze. She hit the gas instead of the brake. She drove herself straight into the ocean and drowned. The classmates who knew the story shivered as they described the grim state of her body when it was recovered. Someone who loved gossip asked me what I thought about it. I just smiled. I'm looking forward. For me, every step forward now is filled with sunlight and strength.